Hey friends, it's your brother Hampton. I want to make this video talking about how to get started as a content creator. So this is partially in response to a comment I saw the other day asking about things like lighting, audio, what equipment to get, and basically just how to get started. And I was going to make a course around content creation that was going to be for free, but I started this channel with the idea of doing more strategy-based things, so broader things, broader strokes of things that people can do. But I understand that if this were a course and I were making this channel like it were a course, there would be a video like this showing people how to get started. And I'll talk about why I prefer the strategy-related things versus the specific how-to related things in just a moment. But there are a few things we can talk about, some tools that I can recommend and give to you that I think will really help you on your journey. So first of all, and I think I can probably just do this in one take, we'll see how it goes. First of all, the easy answer to what do you need to start, I think people have heard me talk about this before, is really you can start with your phone. Especially just getting started. I understand there's different approaches to how people do things. Some people, they want to really itemize everything, get started. I'm going to start on this day, this is when I'm going to start. And then there's some people who just want to get started. So I understand there's different approaches, but the value of starting with your phone is really just, I mean, you can always delete the videos you have out there, but just having something that you start and you go through the process of it, in my opinion, really inform you more than reading about it and watching about it. By all means, do that a little bit ahead of time, just to mentally and emotionally and skillfully prepare yourself for what you need to do and what you want to talk about. But really just the idea that we can film ourselves speaking for 10 minutes or, not even on camera, but just audio for 10 minutes, or write for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You can write a little bit longer depending on how much time you want to spend on it and how fast you are at writing. That's one of the advantages we have with the online spheres. Like, we've expedited this feedback loop of like post, and not only do we get feedback from the experience of doing it, but if we have people comment and we show people and they tell us what they think, we have that feedback there. Try to get feedback from people you trust. So I recommend, for the vast majority of questions relating around like what equipment should you have, I would just use your phone. I would consider using your phone so much that even if you have a camera, unless you are very good with it and you're very specific with how you want yourself to look and how you want it to look, I would just use your phone. The front camera on your phone is usually good to start. If you want slightly higher quality, you can use the back camera of your phone, and then eventually you can upgrade to a proper camera. There's a motorcycle going by, so this shows the audio in real time of a video being made that I've made, I think, hundreds, possibly thousands of videos at this point. I don't make that many videos, but if I have, it's like 2,000 at most, probably not. But part of the benefit of that is, first of all, the convenience. So these platforms are built because they want content creators, because they know, I imagine, that the next big content creator that can pull a lot of views for them, because they benefit when you get views, right? So they want you to get a lot of views too, as long as the content is good and people like watching it. The next big content creator is out there somewhere, right? They're probably making content right now or thinking about it, or maybe they're being born right now, or they're aging up to where they can have access to a phone. They know they're out there, so they want to make it as easy as possible. And it's also beneficial to you to make this process as simple for you as possible, especially starting out, because I see a lot of people talk themselves out of it when they could have been great. We don't know. They talk themselves out of it before they really tried. So really consider your phone. Most of us, I think a lot of us have like, oh, we have that camera that in storage or something, maybe we'll use that. Unless it's super simple to use, just consider using your phone, because you can film it and then you can upload it on the same device, especially if you have like mobile data or Wi-Fi. I would strongly consider using your phone. Upgrades to that would be audio. So I would consider getting a $10 lav mic if you can, if at all possible. It depends on the type of content you're making. But kind of like what I have now, this one's wireless and it goes to a camera that I have. But before that, there was a while when I just used a lav mic directly plugged into my phone and I would speak like this, because the audio quality of our video actually matters more than some people think. And there's some other videos talking about this, but when you have good quality audio, but okay quality camera visuals, that can still make your video seem more high quality when you have good quality audio. And by good quality audio, I usually mean clear, right? It doesn't have to be It's like mosquitoes. It doesn't have to be booming. It doesn't have to be very resonant or anything. It wants to be clear. And especially for viewers, going back to the phone thing, we have to think, why are people watching content on social media, right? So you think about these videos that get hundreds of millions of views sometimes, and some of them, not all of them, are done on like relatively inexpensive cameras compared to what's out there. So like you think like even like I guess what people would call like a B movie, right? So not a movie that's shown in theaters, but a movie that goes like direct to streaming or direct to DVD back in the day, or direct to VHS, things like that. They spend a lot of time and money on productions, and yet some people still choose, given the options of those out there, still choose to watch things on social media done on a smartphone. I think part of that is because people appreciate the authenticity, that this is another human creating something in a way that I can relate to, done on their phone, because I've done that before, and they're sharing it online. Now I can hear their thoughts. I appreciate their thoughts. Part of that is the human connection element. So we don't want to talk ourselves and psych ourselves out of doing something, and we want to do something the hard way, when really doing the simpler way is sometimes better. So phone, and then if you want better audio, it's usually okay, especially if you're closer to the phone like this. And a lot of modern phones nowadays, if you have like the newest iPhone, the newest Samsung, the newest Google Pixel, they usually are built for this. Content creation's probably more popular now than ever. So a lot of things are built in there. So you're probably going to have fine audio, you're probably gonna have fine video. I want to talk about lighting. So if you'll notice, lighting is something that matters, because if you have very poor lighting, it usually is not going to help your video. So lighting isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is being able to make good, engaging content people want to watch. But outside of that, you want to give yourself the advantages, the ones that make sense. So honestly, like if I filmed in the dark before, but my wife recently put up these lights, and that really helps. And we're gonna put some lights up here, and that will get some light on me, and that, I think that will help the lighting quality. But before I did all of that, and this is mostly possible because I have a better quality camera now that can see things a little better at night, but you can save yourself a lot of effort. You'll notice early on, I just filmed during the daylight. I noticed outdoor lighting was usually very good. I noticed this before I ever did content creation. When I took a photo of myself, or I took a photo of something and it was outside, I'm like, man, that looks really good. It's because there's a lot of light outside. Light, within reason, is very important to photography and videography. So you want to get enough light, not overexposed. That's a big thing. So a good rule of thumb is if you can find somewhere where there's adequate outdoor natural light, sunlight. A lot of people do it by the window, but if you can do it outdoors safely, by all means, please do that safely. Safety of yourself, safety of others, safety of those surrounding you. Then do that. But with some exception, when possible, I would say try to avoid direct sunlight. So direct sunlight can sometimes seem a little bit harsh. That's when you start to get overexposed. And like there's like settings and stuff you can mess with. But for now, phone, lav mic if you want, and outdoor lighting if possible. That's of course if it's a warmer month, warmer time of year. If possible, you can do it inside by a window. Those are usually the things. You usually want a lot of light, not directly on you. Ring lights were very popular back in 2020 when I was doing stuff on TikTok. I finally got one, and I found them a little bit overrated, right? Like they were very popular, and even soft boxes, which a lot of people use. Like I think a lot of people would have two lighting things right here, one in the back, right? So there's one thing that illuminates you from behind, and two things up here to counter that, or really two things here, then a backlight to counter that. Kind of gives like the outline. You know, when there's something in the back, you can see the outline of me a little better, so I don't blend as much into the background. It's just an interesting study, but it's not the most important thing to content creation, so I won't spend that much time on it. Okay, so moving on. Sorry if I spent too much time on that, but I wanted to really reiterate just the power and the opportunity you have with your phone. I know there's a lot of stuff about phones, a lot of internet, social media, and a lot of them are very reasonable. A lot of them are things we should be careful of. But one of the good things that come with that is the convenience and time and availability of being able to share content, and especially if you want to go out and help people, which I recommend, tying into your mission somehow, helping people, bringing value, and lifting other people up through doing your mission. It's a really cool thing to be able to take advantage of. Just when you're thinking about it and you're not sure, start with something simple. Start with your phone if possible. Second thing, see, like if we really want to make if I want to be that kind of channel, and I made a lot of tutorials on like how to upload on YouTube, how to go through every setting, how to go through all the settings on Instagram, like what captions, what hashtags to use. And I want to simplify the potentially hundreds of hours of content into a few minutes here. First of all, because a lot of that is changing. So even if I made those very specifically right now, it might be obsolete in as little as like a day, a week, a month. They often subtly change these things, so I don't really want to make those videos. The good news is, once again, convenience. A lot of money and time and effort has gone into making the process of uploading and understanding the platform simpler for you. I know sometimes it gets very confusing. Sometimes these platforms, it feels like they do unusual things, but they usually want the upload process to be as simple as possible while still giving viewers and content creators the tools and context they need. They usually want to be pretty simple. So I recommend that you Google most of these things, or search engine most of these things, rather than trying to detail everything here, because there are so many platforms, they're all slightly different, and when you have a question, I would just look up how to upload YouTube video, how to upload Instagram video, how to upload Facebook video, and then you can get into things like time to post, hashtags. Once again, I don't want to seem like I am just like throwing to this, but this really is a time where a lot of the things that used to matter, as long as they're not important to the key value of the video, they will get probably increasingly less important over time. So they won't be as valuable, including our beloved hashtags, right? So back in the day, there was a lot of effort, like keyword stuffing, if you remember what that was. If you ever watch an old YouTube video and you go into the description and it's like, hi, this is me playing Legend of Zelda. Ignore the following. And this is like a bunch of text, right? That was like, I think the idea was to get keywords so when people searched it, it would pop up because whatever you searched was in the description of that video, even if it's unrelated. Things are starting to move further away from that because, first of all, it doesn't bring value to us, the platform, or the people. So if you're searching for a cooking video and you get a gaming video, usually not what you're looking for. That probably impedes and affects your experience in a way that isn't good for the viewer, the platform, and the content creator. So a lot of this stuff is becoming not as important. So upload time for most modern platforms, that would include YouTube and the meta platforms, TikTok too, like Twitter, X, I don't know. But for a lot of the video platforms, there's usually some text somewhere that will say something to the effect of, studies have shown that upload time doesn't affect long-term statistics or something. So they're basically making it a little bit more open to where if you upload something, even if like half of your audience is asleep at that time, they just get served that video later on and they get the opportunity to watch it later on. It makes more sense, right? Because the idea of like uploading exactly at 12:52 p.m. on a Saturday, getting more views, that's not directly related to the quality of the content you're putting out, right? And they want to reward good content by the definition that it helps other people. People want to see it and they keep wanting to see it. So I wouldn't worry so much about that. A lot of the specifics around uploading, I would say this to a child of mine, that, or like someone I love more than anything. If they wanted to learn how to do it, I would genuinely recommend they go on a search engine and look up how to do it. Not because I want to brush them off. And that's why I use the child example. I use the loved one example. Not because I want to brush them off and say, you know what, just Google it. It's because part of content creation, part of the culture around it is kind of figuring stuff out as you go. I still feel that. It's not written down anywhere, but I still feel that it is. So if you are someone who wants stuff very structured, this is what you do, this is what you'll get, this is what you get. Content creation is not always like that, in my opinion. Some people they might have manufactured a process or found some kind of process where that really works for them. But usually you have to figure stuff out, right? So usually when people ask me these things, I'm like, I don't know. So, but the good news is there's usually already an article and a video, and these platforms have made lots of videos. That's their job, to make these articles, videos, information available for you to be able to do that. So anytime you have a question that's specific to the technical side, as in how to do it, what to do, when they recommend doing it, there's usually a short, succinct video or article that you can look up around that. So for most of your questions, and like I'm hoping this answers like 90% of things. How do I do this? How do I change the thumbnail? When should I change the thumbnail? Look it up. There's usually an official answer, and then there's usually some kind of discussion of people discussing around that. And speaking of things that have potential downsides, but maybe some upsides, AI is a really big thing nowadays. And I'm not making an ideological statement on it. I just know that AI is here now. So if you are open to using it, one benefit that they have that a lot of content creators use is you can learn things from them. You can use them to brainstorm ideas for one thing, but when you're learning the process of how to upload this, you can look it up. You can ask ChatGPT, Gemini, or whatever you're using, even Google now. When you Google search, if you're framing a question, sometimes they'll pop up with their AI answer first. You can ask them follow-up questions, and that can be very helpful for people learning something like how to upload on something. Because then you can say, hey, this article that you pulled up is great, but it doesn't tell me whether or not it's actually important for me to upload at a certain time. And then you can get the information from that. If you're ever unsure, if you're ever like, I know there's like the meme that AI is very unreliable. If you're ever unsure about something, you can ask it to source it. It's like, where did you pull this article, this idea from? And it'll link an article, and then you can be like, wow, that doesn't say it at all. That's terrible. But one possible resource when you're asking technical questions is you can use AI to answer your questions on that. That leads me into my third and final point, which I already filmed a version of this, but it was a little bit longer and my memory card ran out. So, because I didn't know it was almost full. But when you're unsure about something, when you get conflicting ideas, because even in the things that I brought up here, you may have heard from some other content creators, like, no, don't listen to anybody, get a camera before you start filming, or don't listen to anybody, you need proper lighting gear, or don't listen to anybody, you need to watch 100 hours of tutorials first. You may hear conflicting information, and in my opinion, there's kind of a culture in content creation where we just try and see what happens. We try and get information from that. Like, it really depends, because in a decision-making video I made on Coffee with Hampton, I talked about how if the cost of trying something, when you're not sure how to make this decision, if the cost of getting it wrong is low, and the cost of learning is low, and the potential consequences are low and or reversible, I would just try it, right? So when you're not sure, it's like, so Hampton says this, but someone else says this, maybe consider just trying it. So again, the cost of getting started in the content creation probably has never been lower. You can film something on your phone, post it, it can be up in a few minutes, depending on the length of the video. After you learn that a few times, that is being balanced, because some people just do that and they just do it over and over and over and over again, and they don't really grow. That being balanced with a constant desire to grow and improve is usually what works. There are some people who prefer to do things not in this kind of like trial and error way, but they prefer to plan things out a little bit more. But within content creation, within social media, I still think there's a culture where people still try things. It's more casual. It's more supposed to be more authentic that way. So even for people who want to plan things out a little bit more, there's still an element of trying. So you listen to some content creators talk about how they would advise other content creators to start, and a lot of them say, start with your few bad videos first. Get those out of the way first and try to improve and learn something from each video. You can always remake them. And the downside of getting started is nobody's watching, and we've spent a lot of time on something and it gets 10 views. So not nobody, but just relatively few people. But the upside is not a lot of people are watching. So there's a lot of mistakes that you can make that aren't seen by that many people, and they've only been seen by 15 people. Later on, when you're much better, it's like, oh, I want to remake that video, and now 15,000 people will see it. 15 million people could see it, depending on the type of video and what you're making. So I recommend trying. So the three things I would give someone getting started in the content creation, I know they seem random, so I want to categorize them. One is almost all equipment-based questions. Lighting, audio, camera. Most things can be done on your phone, including lighting. So there's some lighting things you can do where there's flash. I don't recommend that. Lighting, I would use natural light if possible. Audio, phone audio. If you want to upgrade, you can use the lav mic. Don't worry about it if you don't have that. Camera, I would use camera. Front camera first, maybe then back camera after you're a little bit more comfortable. You have to get used to looking at the lens. And it's the same thing with front camera. You can't look at yourself, you have to look at the lens. And then eventually you can grow into a regular camera if you want, but keep something that's consistent, that's equipment based. Learning based, when you have questions about how to upload, what hashtags to use, these things, I would recommend looking something up. Once again, that's not to brush anyone off, but just because it changes so often, and I don't want to rehash things because there's been a lot of hours, a lot of time already spent making a really good tutorial for that you can watch in a minute. Sometimes done by the platforms themselves, sometimes done by other people. And I know there's always the idea of like, well, they won't always tell you about the hack, how to get into it, like the hashtag Mercedes, that will get all the views on Instagram. Even if those exist, because sometimes they do, those will usually be patched eventually. So it's not usually a long-term strategy to hop from hack to hack to hack. The thing that we're trying to do probably won't change, and that is to make engaging videos that people want to watch and they may want to share with friends, and platforms will help you facilitate that. And if that is your goal, then you are working with them and you're not working against each other. So learning-based things, you can look it up, you can use search engines or AI if you trust it, but those are very valuable resources. And mindset is a mindset of trying things and learning from that. So one is equipment-based, one's learning-based, and one is mindset-based. These are tools that I would give someone getting started in content creation. I wish you good luck. Once again, I think we should do all of this with the idea of trying to help people. So even if it's comedy-based, you're lifting other people's lives. You're making their day a little better with your laugh. It can be teaching-based, where teaching people how to do things. It can be inspiration-based, or even if it's just like showing your vlog, showing your farm vlog, right? That can be relaxing to some people. That can be inspiring to some people. Discussing news can be important to some people. That's sometimes how they get their information. So going into this with a mindset of, yes, trial and error, but also a mindset of trying to lift others up while you're on your journey can really help align things, and is what I recommend you try to do. I hope that can help. Thank you so much for watching. Have a beautiful day, my friend. Hopefully this one didn't max out the memory card on.